Thanks, everybody. I know we had some of you come in a little bit as we're kind of coming in. I was talking and kind of explaining this. This is, to me, one of the most important parts of this seminar. So you have this card that's been handed to you. It's our ideas card. We're looking for your best food and beverage idea, the one that just you never expected that did so well. Share that with the room in here. Part of this, to me, is I know that we have somewhat competition, but at the same time we're in this industry all together, and the more that we know 3 gas stations on a corner works. So the more that we can show that the industry produces great parties, great events, and great fun, the more that people are going to want to come. So that's what the front of the card is. On the back of the card, so that we can give away a prize, because this is a food course, this question: don't use your phones. No cheating. The 2 slowest days at Disneyland are... and just write those on the back. What are the 2 out of the 365 days? What are the 2 slowest days? I have inside information on this because my daughter works there. So we got the answer for you. So Andy's sitting here in the front row, and I'll bet Andy's a lot about like you guys are thinking about. We have these centers that we're like, what do we do with this piece specifically with the food? Because it's growing, it's changing, it's adapting. Your market, first of all, I want to thank you as an industry, because you taught me math. I was a scorekeeper at 14 years old. I was one of the youngest scorekeepers in there. They always were like, what, that kid doesn't know anything. I was 4'11" as a freshman in high school. So could you imagine, here's this little kid, "Hi, my name's Mike. I'm going to be your scorer." Okay? And I'd walk up, but when you're sitting there going and it's 88 and he's got 2 strikes and a 6, you got to go 98, 108, 114, just like that when you're scoring by hand back in those days. So my math skills are like so good from being able to do that all in my head, because that's how I had to do it. So I want to thank you as an industry for helping me out with that. So part of what we're going to do today is we're going to definitely talk about menu engineering and the power of what that is. And really, I'm going to show you a different way, because a lot of you are going, I know, Mike, I've seen all these food and beverage seminars on this topic. We're going to deal with plow horses and puzzles and all sorts of stuff, right? How many of you have seen that seminar? A couple of you? Okay. So we're going to show this a little bit different way, because I like it from the practical sense. We've worked with 410 projects in 48 states. We just did get back from Taipei, redesigning their kitchens out there. We are operations people that understand operations, so that when you do a kitchen design, we know how it works. How many of you have a great functioning kitchen? You can't believe how great it is. It's just awesome. We have one hand in the back. That's great. So, part of this is that you're not getting any help with this, because equipment dealers will give you great free layouts. Their designs are just super as long as you buy their equipment. So it's kind of the wrong idea of the wrong person doing it. You need someone who understands the flow of these. I'll show you a little bit of things about what we've seen out there about that. Take you through some slides of what we've seen in the world about traveling around, and then we're going to really focus in on menu engineering piece. I promise you, when you leave this will be one of the top 10 speeches of this entire seminar series. So let's get this thing going. So here's some of the things we've seen. This is the most expensive bottle of wine. You'll never guess where it is. The Dubai airport, of course. How much does that bottle cost? How much is that per ounce? Man, it better be really good. If you're going to buy that bottle of wine, it better be really, really good. That is the most expensive bottle of wine in the world right now for sale. So you're welcome to purchase that at any time. I found the most expensive menu in the world in Vegas. $500,000 in the club for this incredible party. And this is Hakkasan's menu, and 3 people have actually purchased this over 2 years. So it's quite an event. If you've got the dollars, you can even go there this weekend and hang out and pick one of these up, or even one of the less expensive ones if you prefer. Now, traveling around in Asia, and if you've seen the movie Beaches, this is the island there in Maya Bay. I've had the opportunity not only to come to this place, but actually overnight camp at this place. And it's a long ride. You've got to get on a 21-hour flight, and then another 1-hour flight to Phuket, and then you've got to get on a 2-hour boat ride out to this island, and then right on this beach here, you get to sleep overnight. And it's $60. So it's a really good deal. And on that island, it's really ugly, and I don't recommend it. It's not fun at all. It was really neat, quite an experience. But they have something that you might be familiar with. Now, how many of you consider yourself that you used to have one of those? Or do you still have one? Right? Somewhere in the middle. And that's the interesting about today, ladies and gentlemen, is that you're on this kind of, what do we do with this? I got this bar, and then I've got this thing, and I don't have it well branded, and I'm struggling with it because as the outside, now let's be outside just for a second, out of your bowling industries for a second, and be a guest. And you're driving by and you see a bowling center. Are you going to that restaurant? Oh my God, I've got to go in there. It's the best food ever, right? So you're stuck on that because you got to fight through that brand. And that's what I mean about captive market. Now you've got the ones inside the lanes, and we got to do a much better job with those people in capturing more of their sales. Okay, to take advantage of that. And we'll talk about those ideas today. That is a snack bar. Do not call your place a snack bar. If you put that label on it, your customer will. And you tell me the quality of the food of a snack shack or anywhere you use the word snack. See what happens? Okay, you think it's like a 4. It's like if you look it up in the dictionary, it means really, really bad food. Okay? So we don't want to be that or tied to that in any way. If you're not proud of it, don't serve it. So, thinking about your food now, I'm going to ask you in a little while about to rate your own food on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being the best. Give me a couple numbers of how you feel about your food. I got a 9.5 over here. Probably a chef. I got a 2. Hey, I've got 9s. Now for me, 9 better be pretty incredible. Better be knocked your socks out food. Okay, but if we got it, that's great. And then we've got lots of in-betweens. We see the average around 6 to 7 is what we get when we ask that question in a lot of this. So C to D, opportunities to make it better. That's the key words. If you're not proud of it, don't serve it. I love this. This is a good way to find staff. Right? Hiring someone who can just boil water. Please, can you just show up and boil water? Scotty's in the back. He's on my team, and Jessica is too. And they found that driving through Texas and sent me that photo that we can make sure we share. Now, we found some ventilation systems in Asia. This is kind of like Mrs. Fields' cookies gone crazy, right? They take the smell of the hot dogs and then they generate it so you can smell it everywhere around. So that's the way that's one of the ways to do ventilation. Now, I love flies, these things. These are great, but let's think about where we're locating them. Yeah, we probably shouldn't put it over the to-go food boxes. I think there's some better places because the flies, when they go in those things, they don't see anything flying out ever, do you? They just absorb it and it's just in there, no problems. Or when we're doing soda, let's put one by that one too while we're at it. Keep it close to the company. This is outside in Vegas. Cocktails, because your friends just aren't that interesting. I didn't make the sign, I just put up the sign. Wasn't my idea. And watch your spelling. I don't know what I'm eating there. But I think we've got to make sure we spell it right. So, and then think about when you're asking things, what you would say when stuff goes, what you say when the stuff that goes in pen spills. It's a 4-letter word. So you got a pen, it spills everywhere. What are you going to say? Yeah, there's a lot of 4-letter words I could say, but the answer was oops. And that was not one of my ones that I was thinking about. So that's on a magazine in Delta magazine for their little thing in there. Communication, right? We tell our staff something, they do something completely different. Here's what the customer wanted. They just wanted a tire swing. So that's how the cooks made it. That's what the health department expected. That's how the manager ordered it. That's how the training manuals explained it, and I love OSHA. That thing's really safe. All right, that swing's not going to hurt anybody. So, being clear in communications, because here's the thing. You're running a freestanding independent restaurant and bar. 2 totally different concepts. There's integration that you can do with those, but 2 totally different concepts. You need standard operating procedures in those facilities. You're going to hire someone from a restaurant chain that's been working for the chain for 10 years, and they're going to come in and be your food and beverage manager, and they're going to look and they go, so, where's my training program? And you're going to look at them and go, exactly. That's what you get to develop. Where's the prep list? I know. You get to make that too. Right? So they have to create these things, and they've never created it before, or you've never created it before, so how do I make this? But without them, you're going to get 2 things, inconsistent food and slow food. So you need to take the pictures. You got to do the due diligence. We'll show you what those things are as we move along. Posting things on a menu are good to make it clear to your customers. Please ask for the desserts because the waiter will never tell you. And that's on one side of this same menu that says, if our food and service aren't up to your standards, then you just need to lower your standards. I don't make this stuff up. I just collect things. So it's fun to travel around and see Look at this. We're in a food and beverage seminar and we're laughing. Never expected that. Inventory. We got to keep an eye on that. We barely were able to open the freezer doors. Jess and Scott were actually the ones in there taking that whole inventory out. And you know, we found some things in there. The good thing is we found dates. So that's good that they were dating the product. But this picture was only taken about a year ago. Ooh, look at that. Ooh. So it's good to date it, but you know, it's a really good idea to rotate it. And thank good but it's good. It's frozen. It's okay. It'll hold. Do we have problems keeping things on cold? This is going to be, I guarantee you, with your kitchen, this is your number one problem. That you can't keep your cold ingredients cold because you don't have enough inserts to do it. How many of you have that problem? Be honest. Put a hand up. 2 people. Only 2. Thank you very much for sharing. Okay, there's lots of this, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have this issue because what's changed over the last 10 years in your menus is it used to be slap kind of some food down, and now people want more ingredients and they want more variety and they want to be able to get a Cobb salad and maybe another salad, and those require inserts to produce the product, and you don't have them on your lines. You don't, because kitchens weren't made that way 10 years ago. This is what happens usually with kitchen design. So we get to look at it and we see, look, we've got but the concept, so look at this. Menu drives design. Keep that in mind. That's what happens. Whatever menu you're thinking about drives the design of your facility. So this must be the soda nacho concept, because that's all that's in there. And the problem you're going to have if it's designed this way is you're not going to have the power that you need when you start to create the menu items that you want to, and you're going to get into some trouble. But when we were able to do it within the same square footprint of this counter service type operation, we were able to get all the things in the facility you need: 4 doors of refrigeration and 3 doors of freezer and specific things to dry storage and needs to be able to meet up and keep up with demand so that you can service your guests. This is one layout that was actually designed 2 years ago. And I want to take you through it because you can look at it and go, look, I've got a kitchen. They designed it all for me. It's numbered. Let's take a look at the details. Okay, 6 doors of fridge and 3 doors of freezer. And the freezers were $11,000 for one 3-door freezer. Now you can look online and get a sense, but that's a prison spec. Because there's nothing like a prison spec in a concession. You really need a prison spec. That means they can't take any of the metal off and hurt anybody. So that's not really an issue at our places. They were charging for the bag-in-the-box racks. They charged the refrigerators at $7,300 a piece. Again, a prison spec. It says 1 combi oven clearly on the spec, and they billed us for 2. We have a cooking line up front where we're doing the beverages and looking at those things, but a lot of those things we can get for free from our vendor. We don't have to pay for these units. Condiment dispensers. I mean, they were hitting us for everything. Isn't that clearly a storage rack? No, it's a dishwasher. Let's hit them for another 11 grand. So when equipment dealers design things, sometimes they put things in there that you don't need or don't want or don't even... Can you put yourself into the diagram and walk yourself through and make this thing work? We have 6 kitchens that we're under contract right now designing. 3 of them open in the next 60 days, right, Scotty? And we did finish 6 of them recently, and we've got 4 more under contract to do. These remodels that we're doing are because of what's going on in the menu changes over the last number of years. To get it right, because this stuff isn't fair. And when you're getting hit for delivery and installation $26,000 on a $226,000 budget with a freight of $4,000, there's 52 specs in here, and I would change 47 of them. It would lower the cost by 20% and make it a more efficient space. So finding the right people to make sure you can get what you want out of your bars and your facilities so that you can execute moving forward. There's nothing worse than everything's perfect. You open up with this new thing and you can't get the food out. And then what do the guests say? Oh, I'm not coming back. It only takes one to start the ripple, especially with the leagues. You get a reputation and it's really tough to beat, isn't it? If the leagues say that the food's slow, then they're not going to order it. So your revamp can give you that another chance. Oh, good, they're doing it over. And if you repeat the same thing, you're going to get the same reputation really, really quick. So we got to make sure we get it right. A couple things about ice machines. That says up there, it says $280. And this is a KM630. The difference in price is only about $1,000, and that's list. When you actually purchase it, it's only about $500 difference. So for double the capacity of the ice, that's $280 and $630, it's only about $500. When you're speccing ice machines, just let you know, and again, the size is only 7 inches larger. So it can really help you that you don't have to necessarily get the cheapest machine. Sometimes you can get a little bit more ice, you never have to worry about it, it doesn't cost that much to do it. So with kitchen design and remodel, here's kind of the factors with that. Menu drives design, as I said. And you want to be able to look at that. But when we do analysis and we do kitchen analysis, we come in for 2 to 3 days, figure out the best way to do it, see what we can do to make it right. And that's what you want someone to do, not just hand a menu, walk away and design something for you. Involve the designer that understands your needs. 2 to 3 registers at the front counter, not just one. Have the ability, if your counter service, to do 2 or 3. A manager can jump on for a minute or 2 and ring up an order. Here's how this works. POS is your slow point. Okay? So if you're a counter service, you've got all these guests over here, they're all excited about getting food. You've got your staff on the other side of the wall going, we want to serve you, and what's slowing you down? The POS. So add a second register or a third one for those busier times so you can get the orders in. Budget to replace your equipment every 10 years. You do it with other parts of your business. Make sure that this is, most of the time we look at kitchens, it's more of repair and maintenance that should have been going on ongoing that isn't been doing that. So put that in your line items. It's just like any other business when we have equipment, $25,000 a year because your kitchen has to be replaced every 10 years. Bid equipment apples to apples. You're going to get equipment dealers that bid you stuff, and then they're bidding 2-door refrigerators, but they're not the same spec. If they don't bid it to spec, don't even accept the bid. They can provide a page of alternates, but that's separate from what you can do. So you can look at your bids and go down and figure out how to price it properly. And then the last part is just following the health department rules. So don't cut corners. They're there to help you. Okay, they really are. They're in the best interest of health. Yeah, it's kind of funny with the marking system that they do, but pay attention. It's good learning because we want to make sure that everybody's safe. So, if we can get an IT person, just because we got to pull that down. Busy? Okay, it'll be okay. I'll just read those for you then where this house. So what we learned from managing food operations. So I have an operation that we manage. It started 6 years ago that we had it, and it was doing $216,000 in sales. Not bad, but it's only 100 operating days. So in the last 5 years now, we've built that up to over $650,000 in sales. And I'll show you the things that we did to do that. We tripled the sales of the operation. The profits are through the roof from what it was before. Our food cost is about 26%. Our labor cost is about 24%. So that's what we target in our facilities. And again, I'll show you all the techniques of how we do that. So first of all, remember that you're captive. When you're captive, you have the ability to charge a little bit more than your competition. And I'll give you an example of that. When you walk into a movie theater, this is the worst example, but that makes the point. You know, you're outside, outside the movie theater, you're a very normal person. And then you walk inside a movie theater and you go, wow, a Coke for $5, what a deal. But I don't want the small one at $5 because 32 ounces is just not enough. They have the 44 ounce for $5.25 and the 54 ounce for $5.50. That's the deal. I'm getting the deal right there. And you know what? They put it with a popcorn together and it's only $14. What a deal! And then you walk outside and you go to 7-Eleven, you go 99 cents for a drink, any size I pick? That's so ridiculous. Right? That's what captive market is. When they step inside your walls, you got them. It's a different entity. You can do things a little bit differently. You can charge a little bit more when you're delivering it to their lanes. You can do that. Upscale the food upscale the food above your guests' expectations. So most bowlers coming in don't have a very high expectation. So if you can come and exceed that, then you can start to build a restaurant business. It is very hard to say, we're going to go to the street and start having people come in. You can, but first it's starting with your core because they're going to be telling their friends that this is a really cool place, and then you can build it from there. SOPs are critical to your success. We talked about that a little bit. Get the standard operating procedures. Now, my belief is you need a 1/4-inch manual. Okay? Manual about this thick. Because you go to McDonald's, or my goodness, you go to Disney. Holy cow, you ought to see their manuals. My daughter worked 40 hours, never stepped on the floor for 40 hours that they paid her before she even rung something on the register. That's how Disney trains. How many of you train like that? You work all your hourly people 40 hours before they even do anything. Okay? Now this is not a training program. Work with Andy. That's not a training program. Training program is, here's my 2-week plan. Day 1, you're going to do this. Day 2, you're going to do this. Day 3, you're going to do this. You may have people that can accelerate through that, but look, all the chains do this. So we got to make sure we've got the training programs in place as well. Just a 1/4 inch. They're really usable pieces. More things that we learned, creating a bar atmosphere that you would go to. So here's the thing about the bar, and I'm going to bounce a little bit back and forth on this. Let me pick somebody in the room. All right, up, right there in the black shirt. What's the best bar you've ever been to? Like, it was just great, the experience there. What was it like? So good, solid sports bar that had good service and good people there and pretty solid food is a good description. Okay, that's great. Now, I'll tell you a couple of ideas that we've seen, some of the bars that we've helped design. So we went back 6 months later in this operation. It lost money for 10 years, and we finally got it in 6 months to get to the break-even point, and now it's profitable. What was their most popular night? The Scissors, Paper, Rock tournament. Really? The Scissors, Paper, Rock tournament. They had 32 people lined up for that because they'd come up and go, right? And then the final was 3 out of 5. Okay? Like, this thing goes fast, right? And people are like all into it, and it's exciting. And then the winner got a $20 bar tab. And they were bringing in people like it was trivia night for this tournament. That's the type of stuff you want to look for. Mustache Mondays. Get the promotion stuff going. You don't have to give it away, but you got to tease people to come in and make it worthwhile and create an experience and an ambiance. And maybe it's a sports bar. Maybe it's a Dave & Buster's experience. Maybe it's what you have just to upscale slightly. Brand it. Make it into something. Cooking with the proper equipment. Okay? It's difficult when you're cooking with stoves like that. This gentleman was doing $1.2 million, and this is the only stove he had. So I give him kudos for being on this. And what was great is the health department would come in and just close it. I don't have a stove. We don't need a hood. What are you talking about? Okay? But I don't recommend that. This was under the hood. I love that. We went to Home Depot and picked up a charbroiler. Okay? Well, we can't do things like that. We got to follow codes and make sure we do the rules and all that good stuff. And then creating value in your menu to hit a 30% food cost or less. So value is really similar. Remember I give you the soda example? 32, 44, and 54 ounces, 5, 525, 550. What's the best value of those three products? Is the 32 ounce a good value for $5 compared to the 54 for $5.50? I'd be an idiot to buy the small drink. Let me get the bigger one. For 50 cents more, I can refill it and get 108 ounces of soda. Okay? So create value into your menu, guide people to specific things. We'll talk about menu engineering, about how that works and how effective it is. The homework that I want you to do is I want you to go back to your registers or even call today, get a Z report and tell me how many rings that you had. How many rings in a year did you have? Transactions. I'm talking about keystrokes. Every time a key is hit. Not so much the modifiers, because those don't generate funds. Okay, no ketchup is a modifier. But what we're looking for is how many times you rung stuff up. You will be surprised. It's in the tens of thousands, okay, of rings in each, your bar and your food. So let's say there's 100,000 rings combined. If you can get $1 more out of each ring, you get $100,000. If you can get $2 more out of each ring, you get $200,000. Okay, now I like playing this game. How are we going to do that? So we'll talk about those things, but you need to know where it stands because you're going to have items that guide you down, that take down your average ring. And you need to generate a certain amount of sales to make this thing palatable because you have this thing called labor, and to some degree it's somewhat fixed because you have to have a manager and you have to have staff on those slow days. As much as you hate it, you have to have it. So we've got to make sure we generate sales to make that happen. So when we talk about value, and this is in Asia, in baht, so that's about $2 and $3. I'd be fooled just to buy one, wouldn't I? Because if I sold one for 50 cents or two for 100, there's no value in getting the second one. But when you start to guide people in certain ways, you're going to get value out of that, and it's going to go to the ones that you want to sell. That's going to get you $1 to $2 more per guest on every ring. Dedicated management on the floor or in the space, it's worth it. So I know that sometimes we get in a situation where we have multi-hats. Okay? I'm owner / food and beverage manager / line cook sometimes. I've seen it. Okay? I do it at my operation too, but not as a full-time thing. So make sure we have managers there that are actually dedicated to this. So thinking about this, the restaurant operation has to be set up to succeed in order to be a success. Homework assignment number 2. I told you to go back and get the number of rings. Number 2 is you need to cost out every item. Honest hands How many of you have a book in the back of your operation that has every single menu item costed out to the penny in the back of your restaurant? 5, 6, I'd say about 20%, 25% of the room. Awesome, okay? Hands to that, right? Because with a lot of the operations we see, that doesn't happen. It's critical, because if what you're going to find, show me a hand. Who set their hands up for that? Put your hand up over here. Okay, so when you did it, when you went through that exercise, what did you learn? Right, because purchasing is one of the parts of food costing, right? Is how we can purchase it. And then we want to multiply it times at least 3 or 4, 33%, 25% to get it to the level we want it to be. When the food's too expensive, you're like, how can I sell a burger for $14? I can't do it, so I have to adjust my specs, whatever I need to do that. You're also going to find some things. Food cost is not a straight line, right? You're going to find like, hey, what happened to that item? I didn't even know it went up. Wow, that's crazy. That thing's at 45%. It's killing me. And what the other thing you're going to find is your guests are really smart. They buy that thing because they see the value in it. So do your homework, because once you know that you're selling everything at 30%, you can be very comfortable no matter what you sell. At least you're set on the right foot to make money. What we do is once it's in the book, then I'll verify it quarterly. I'll check my 10 to 15 key things, the burger, what's happening with that. I mean, when I'm doing my invoicing, I kind of check those anyway, because the vendor knows we're checking those. Okay, he's going to stick it to us in the cinnamon, right, or the mop handles. But if you watch your core items, and if we don't, they're going to sneak, and they play around with it. So don't let them play that game. Okay, here's the rules that I set with my vendor. We're deciding on a final price level. Don't play games with me. If it goes up, let me know. If you don't communicate with me, you could potentially lose your position with us. We're $1 million entity. Let's make this work. Okay? And then the best meetings of all when we're consulting is when we grab invoices and we sit down and we see this mayonnaise was $20 one week, and then it was $35 the next week, and then it was $30 the next week, and then it went to $45. And you pull the vendor in and you sit him down and you go, what's this? Why is my pricing moving all over the place? Playing dumb. I'm not yelling at him. I'm just playing dumb. He's like, oh, well, Africa had a big problem with their bees, and that really affected the mayonnaise prices across the world. Or whatever garbage thing they come up with. We had one vendor that said that, Jess is laughing in the back because we had this, they said the fish went from $8.95 to $14.95 from one week to the next. So we called them up and we said, how did the fish go up that much? Oh, well, there was a hurricane out there. And so Jess goes to her phone, and no, there was no hurricane. So we said, no, there wasn't a hurricane. Oh, we just missed it then. You see, vendors sit there and go, this person cares, this person cares, this person doesn't care, this person cares, and this person doesn't care. So we're going to raise those two people prices because they don't care. Okay? So, care is what I'll say with that. Everything on the menu's got to taste good. This criteria is critical. Everything on the menu's got to taste good. And these are all in your handouts, by the way, if you got these. So, everything in the menu tastes good. Number 2, it's got to be fast. So don't come up with something that's difficult to make that you can't fit in your timely basis to make it work. Okay? And then number 3, it's got to make you money. We see a lot of situations where we sell a lot of it and it's fast and we don't make any money with it. So if it doesn't meet one of these criteria, then you don't sell it. It's your menu. It's a captive market. You can do what you want. You have that power. So utilize it in the way that best suits you. So getting onto the menu directly. Remember I told you I gave you your homework assignment number 2? Okay? So 25% of us have that book done. 75% of us have got to go back and do some homework. And I'm telling you, you're going to find some things that'll just shock you. Because always when we do this, I'll tell you, my first client, 1991, we costed out the menu, and the first thing we costed out was grape juice. And the grape juice he was selling for 79 cents. And we did the vitality machine, you know, we pushed that button, I got the vitality pricing, and I costed it out, and it came to 82 cents. So the food cost was 107%. And I'm like, you know what? I thought that was a pretty good price on grape juice, because I look at other grape juice, and that seems like a good price. And food cost was 107%. So from this point forward, I'm going to cost everything out. That's what I decided from that point forward. And we found some really amazing things, like, wow, that's what's affecting our food cost. So now, this is not a really good company to buy candy from. Okay? They're not in the candy business. They're in the big business and grocery business, and all they do is take candy and really shove it to you and make it really expensive. So 624 count, quick math with my bowling stuff, 144, okay, is the count on that for $149. How much is the Starburst about? About $1. Yeah, about $1, $1.02. Guess what they were selling it for? 75 cents. Yep, they were selling their Starburst for 75 cents and they were buying it for $1.03 because they didn't do their homework. Because they thought candy was cheap. Did you know that candy has doubled in the last 2.5 years? Doubled in price. Because sugar has certainly gone up double, hasn't it? Oh, I guess it hasn't. Kind of weird. And it's going to continue to go like that. So we don't even sell candy at our facility anymore. It's not worth it. And you know what? The parents have come to us and said thank you. Okay? Because we wanted to buy $3 pretzels and $3.50 pretzel bites and $5 shave ice. Not $1.50 candy. Or worst off, 25-cent candy. Who's selling any of that? Yeah, I know. Don't put your hand up when the consultant says something like that. You know, I don't want to do that. Or the speaker, rather. So, because if you think about it, your payroll, say, is $10 an hour. Okay? And you sell 25-cent candy. You got to sell 40 of them just to cover your person doing the payroll. So you can't afford to do that. You can do that at a 7-Eleven, but you can't do it in your operation. So, here we go now onto a little bit of what how this kind of works. Bold and highlight what you want to serve. After you do your costing and your due diligence on that, you're going to want to feature some specific items that taste good, are executable, and are profitable. So when you look at a menu, first of all, put things on there that you really want to say. Does that condone or create quality? Because frozen pizza anytime, that just sounds great, doesn't it? That's got DiGiorno all over it. They posted that on a menu. I almost laughed when we looked at this, and I told them, they said, I can really get this? I can get a frozen pizza right now? They're like, sure, come on, you can get one. That's great. Wonderful. I'd rather get something fresh, but thanks for posting that. And the next time we went in, they had removed it from the menu, so they kind of looked at it too. So this was a menu that was running at a 44% food cost, just like this. We did it, costed all the way down. And when we got done with it, we decided to feature 5 items. And I'm going to see if you can figure out which 5 they were. Take your time. Take your time. No, not too fast. Okay? So, look what I did with them. I made the text larger. I made them, they jumped out of the page like that, didn't they? You knew exactly what to go to. I don't care what the eye movement stuff is. Center, top right, top left, bottom right, bottom left. No. That's what the menu used to look like. Yeah, then you start to move your item moving that way. But when you guide people, they will go straight to those items. So the food cost went from 44% to 31% overnight. Overnight. So if you're doing $1 million in sales and you can lower food costs by 13 points and take $130,000 to the bank, that might be worthwhile doing something like that. So take your time with that. Make sure it's quality items that you want to serve. And then your counter people or your servers, if you're in a menu situation, are pushing those items. Guiding, as we use. We don't push, we guide. We nudge. You got to have this one. It's great. It's our signature item and our chef makes it amazing. Okay, so we had some 9s, we had some 2s, right? A couple others. What would you rank your food on a scale of 1 to 10? Right there with the, I can't see name tag, so. Yep. 7? Okay. Andy, what's yours? Okay, that's great. So the part about, to me, what I like about that is that we've got opportunity to get better. And one of the ways you can do that is you can take your cooking team. Let's make the hamburger, shall we? We'll put the hamburger down. We'll all look at it. We're going to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's say we all call it a 7. How are we going to make that an 8? We got people over here that says their burger's a 9.5, right? So how do you make your burger a 9.5 when mine's a 7? What did you do? What's that? Used a fresh baked bun. That's awesome. What else? Seasonings to flavor it up. Yep, those are good ideas. Plate presentation, things we can do with that, right? Did you up the plate presentation? What'd you do? Right? Just getting away from that round, typical plate and making the presentation look a little bit different with some different platage. Right, and so perception over here is if he gets it in a basket, it's a downgrade. Now maybe at the sports bar it might be appropriate. Depends on a little bit of where you are. But maybe a square plate might be nice at the sports bar going, wow, that's an upscale food. The facility we have is an aquatic facility that's doing the $650,000. Our chef is carving hand carving salmon for our aquatic facility. And the feedback we're getting from the guests is like, wow, you guys hand carved that. We're not doing concession food inside our concession. We fresh grill everything outside. I wish you could do it at yours, but you're an indoor facility. But I'll tell you, there's something about putting the grill potentially, if you're thinking about this, in the middle of your facility, that's your point of service, that you give somebody a bun, lettuce, and tomato and send them over to your grill. Okay? That's my way of thinking about something completely out of the box that no one has seen, potentially. So rate your food on the scale of 1 to 10. Have the staff take a look at it, and then what we could do to make it better. And that's a good way to start with that. Creating a signature item. So what are you known for? What's Chili's known for? What's the jingle? Ribs, right? Baby back ribs. Remember that jingle? Do you know how they make their ribs? No, they're not that bad. But they pressure cook them. Now that's not in the ad. We pressure cook our ribs and then put them on the broiler. Okay, no, that's not the ad. Right? It's not a bad way to cook ribs because it does take all the really fatty stuff out of it, but it's different than what you would expect. So, and I'm not trying to knock them, I'm saying they created a signature item that everybody believes that that's what their signature item is because it's a great food cost for them and that's why they do it. So, doing it kind of the same way. Have to be known for something is very, very important. And you say it, they believe it. Marketing is kind of really interesting about that. If you got the best burger in your state, then tell people. Okay? I'll show you some examples. This place is at the O'Hare Airport. These guys have the #1 hot dog. Now, I didn't vote. Did you vote? So I think what happened is the manager went, who thinks we got the best hot dog? He raised his hand and he put the sign up. Right? Over in Houston at the airport, they got the best burger in Texas at the Southwest Terminal over there in Dallas. And when you go out to Phuket and out to the islands, they got the best burger in the world, I guess, serving it there. Because it's famous too. Holy cow! I mean, is yours famous? Well, world famous in San Diego. If you've eaten there at the right on the water there, and then down in San Diego also we have the world famous chips. So you've got to come to San Diego because we got the world's best and the world's best chips down in Old Town. So it's only a 4.5 hour drive. Come on down for all of our world famous food. My point with this is that you need to market yourself and create your own identity, your brand, and what you're famous for. And that's going to help you with your sales as well. How many of you have beverage contracts? Okay, good number of you. So there's some language that's very, very important with this. And there's some give and take on this. Let me just tell you one thing. Coke and Pepsi are a for-profit entity. Just want to let you know. Okay? You may be surprised by that. They actually want to make money. Now, they love selling bottles, don't they? Yes? Okay, they want you to sell bottles all the time over their fountain beverages. And they're going to give you dollars, and I'm going to show you a contract of what these things look like. 50% of the contracts that we've reviewed have been wrong. Meaning that the driver has no idea what the contract reads. So go back to your own language. Make sure that it is what it is. Your Appendix A in your contract is going to be what your soda and stuff was purchased for. Okay? And what you should be buying it for. And then there should be some language in there about how much it can go up. If you don't have that language in there, that's very dangerous because they can raise it to whatever they want. Your Dasani water can go from $12 to $19 if you don't have that language in there. And you're locked in for 5 years or 10 years. So be careful with that. And then nothing on your menu should be less than $1. So you might sell a side of egg, and you may look at the food cost and go, well, Mike, the egg's only 15 cents. So why can't I sell this for 50 cents? Because that's a great markup. Because we don't want people buying an egg. We want people buying a breakfast. And when they start buying individual eggs, you start to see things that it doesn't cost out real well for you. So here's that contract that I saw that's from the soda. And this is the language that you want to make sure you have. But no more than a 3% increase annually. Or 5% increase annually. That language needs to be in there. If you don't have it in there, get it added. And then really look at it, because if you can buy Gatorade and those things for less cost and you do the math over a year's time or two, it may not cost out for you. So a lot of these are sketchy at best in these deals because they want exclusivity, but it's got to win. It's got to be a win-win relationship. This is what I mean about candy now, $1.29. I mean, I remember getting candy bars just a little bit ago that it was less than $1. I remember as a kid going to Alpha Beta, getting them for 7 cents, and I got so mad when they went to 8. Like, that's a penny that I don't have. So, but then they did 2 for 15 cents, so it wasn't as bad in those days. But these are now $1.39, and they're still going up. Okay, so secrets to success. We talked about branding the concept. That you really want to take that time and brand. How many of you feel they have a pretty good brand on their concept? All right? We have 2 in the room. Okay? So this is something, again, that as you tell people and let them know, defining what you want to be, you know, whether it's Strike's Corner or it can be any name, but just start to brand it out that way so people can get used to meet at this. Because you don't want people coming in, bowling, and leaving. Okay? You want people to come in, bowl, experience everything else, buy some games, be a part of this whole thing, rent shoes, the whole bit, and go eat with us. Because we got to get more dollars per revenue than just someone throwing a ball down the lane. Upscale the food to at least an 8 to exceed your bowler's expectations. Okay? So we want to be able to look at that. We've talked about different ways and methods to do that. This is one of the menu boards that we saw once at one of the facilities where we have, you know, cross out things and outs and different prices and just selling, you know, this is food. When we're doing stuff that's been pre-made, the more it's cooked, the more you're going to pay for it. Okay? We're at a facility that had pre-cooked hamburgers. Those are really yummy. You ought to try one of those sometime. Let's take a pre-cooked hamburger and then let's put it in that brown water, kind of like the hot dog, and then let's serve it. I mean, really? Like, people are doing this? If you don't do it at home, don't do it at your facility. So you see a big rush and you drop a whole bunch of burgers and make sure you're safe, or how many of you do 2-to-1s, like big burgers, really big, or 3-to-1s even? Okay? So keep in mind what we do is we do 5-to-1s, but we double stack them. That way the cook time is 3.5 to 4 minutes, and then your standard is a double. Okay? So that way you're not sitting on this 3-to-1 or 2-to-1 that's taking 8, 10, 12 minutes to cook, and you can get this out much quicker with those type of things. So that's about some of the specs to kind of look at as we're doing this. So I wanted to describe a little bit about how this menu mix works, because we were dividing this out, and this is some of the homework that you want to kind of look at. So let's say here's a place, and this is a true story. They were selling pizza for $1.50 a slice, and they came in at 75 cents per slice, and then the bottled drinks were $1 that they sold, and they were doing it for 81 cents. These are really, really high cost of goods. You can get a sense like, wow. But you know what? It's okay. Volume takes care of everything, doesn't it? Right? It's not a problem, as long as we sell a lot of it. So we did sell a lot of it. 300 pizzas at this cost, and over 300 bottles. We sold 300 orders. Generated $750 in sales, $468 in cost with a 63% cost of goods. So that left us with $282, but with a 40% payroll cost, we lost $18 a day selling 300 pizzas. So take your time, be effective with this stuff. I know sometimes we go, let's make it easier. I don't have a pizza thing, so we're getting a pizza from the outside for all of our parties, you know, and trying to make this work. But you can do things now with pizza, as we found out more recently. Have you ever heard of NAFM? How many of you heard of the NAFM? Not even Chef hasn't heard of this one. Okay. So North American Food Equipment Manufacturers. Unfortunately, you just missed it. It was in February, and it's every 2 years. NAFM has the restaurant equipment that's all the new stuff. You can't go to the show if you don't have something new. So you get to see all the new equipment because that's where they introduce it. Much bigger than the National Restaurant Show in Chicago annually. It's a great show to get to kind of see this equipment. So Turbo Chef, I'm sure you've heard of them. Turbo Chef has pizza ovens that do not require hoods. They're the ones that are in all of the subways that do the melting, cheese melting, so to speak, without hoods. They have pizza ovens that don't have them. Anybody have one of those? Great. Turbo Chef now has a smaller version, 14-inch, for $2,500, no hood, that'll make a 14-inch pizza in 90 seconds. 90 seconds, and it's perfect. And I was like, right. So we tried it. We went and looked at it, and we just put it in one of our facilities, right? And it's crushing it, yes? Right? We can get 6 slices out of a 14-inch. It's not quite the 16, but only for $2,500, and I don't need a hood. So yeah, if you're doing, birthday parties for 60 kids, that's a little bit hard. But if you're doing it for 18 or 20, you can put 3 pizzas in and in 5 minutes have their pizza for them. That's pretty good. Good little option to do that. That's only like this big, like it's 16 by 16. You can plug it in. So that's the type of equipment that's out there that you can do that with. So let me show you another example with this pizza where we, instead of doing, now, we're not a fan of selling whole pizzas, okay, in operations. We like selling individuals. Because individuals, when you're trying to sell it by the slice, you can't get more than $3.50 a slice for pizza. But when you sell it as an individual, you can get $5 or $6 very easily. Okay? So individual pizzas, the cost was $2, and then we did fountain beverages. Now let's go back to the same test and see what happens with our financials. 300 pizzas at $6, 300 sodas at $2 generates $2,400 in sales with a food cost of 29%. We figure a lower labor cost with that. Now we can clear over $1,000 with the same amount of sales. So yes, it's a little bit higher price. Yes, it's a different price point, but a much better product in what we're serving. That's why you want to do a little bit of your homework when you're doing your menu mix on the products that you're offering. So value equals experience minus cost. Some people have different impressions of what value means, right? I showed you value in a $5.50 soda. Some people don't see value in that at all, but they still buy it because over 50% of the sales at a movie theater is concessions, and their top 2 selling products are sodas and popcorn. By the way, the average person finishes their food in a movie theater in how much time? It's 14 minutes. Right? You don't even get through the credits and you're done. So that was great. So this is what's neat about when you really think about value. Here's a menu, lots of different options. They even boxed and bolded the ribs. Where's the value in that? What would you buy? Chef's going for the full rack. I'm just doing it. I'm getting the full rack. Okay? Now to me, when all of you sat there in question, that's how you know you don't have the value set. Because the value set, let me tell you how this works. If I take the half rack and charge $28, now what are you buying? You're getting the full rack. Half the room, right away, went to the full rack. Because there's no value in the half rack at $28. Right? So create the value and force people to get the value in one. Oh my gosh, for $7 we could double the ribs. We can take them home. It'll be great. Beautiful. Because I want $34 a guest, not $21 a guest. Big, big difference, okay? That's how you create value. So anything you're doing half portions with, let's say you're doing a half salad and a full salad, okay? Then it's the same thing. If the full salad is $12, the half isn't $6, the half is like $9.50, okay? So create the value to the one that generates more revenue for you. That's how value is created on a menu. Okay, so now let's go after this menu engineering part. We ready? It's a different technique that maybe you haven't seen before. But you can do it with your own menu as you see this going through. So when you look at this menu, and this is from this is actually from the American Club in Singapore when we were working with them on their operations. What stands out when you look at that? I heard it, like side orders. Right? So here we started this really great a la carte breakfast at $7.50, and all of a sudden you come to here and you're like, whoa, egg at $1.50. You know what? Let me just get 2 eggs and a hash brown. And I'm out for $4. $4.25, right? What this does to you as a visual person is you went down and looked at this menu and went, oh, that looks really cheap. Like it cheapens you when you do that. Sides, I get that we have to put them on the menu, but they should be in the lower corner, text much smaller, can't even read it. Okay? I'm not kidding about that. All of us our eyes are aging. It's crazy. And when you add color to it and all that, it's even weirder. Right? So color it out so they can't even read it to some degree. It's just a great shift. But don't make it your highlight on your menu for your less expensive items. Because this is the things that you want to sell when you're doing in the breakfast thing, or the lunch mode, or the dinner mode. This is how you do a full analysis of your menu. So here's a page of a menu that represents all of the burgers that they offer. The 21.72 represents if I have $100 in sales, $21.72 of it is burgers. Okay, or represents 22% of our menu. Of the 22% of the menu, these items here, these are the percentages of each of the burgers that were sold. So if I total up all these percentages, I'm going to come up with 21.72%. Okay, because I'm just dividing my total counts and getting that number to see which is the most popular burger. So as we can see, the most popular burger that's sold is the cheeseburger by itself. Okay, so let's go down the line here and take a look. Shroom and Swiss, $9.99. Bacon cheddar, $9.99. Horsey's burger, $9.99. Francie burger, $9.99. This one, $9.99. $9.99, $9.99, $9.99. And then finally, the patty melt is $8.99. Now, what we do as a guest, when you look at that, where's the value? It's the best value because I don't see the value in any of those other burgers paying $2 more for what I get. That's why they don't sell as much. So how do I solve this? We could raise a cheeseburger to $9.99. Okay, that's one way. I like having the cheeseburger at $9.50 where there's a little value, but for 45 cents, my goodness, which one should I pick? So raising the price of one menu item can get you basically $1 more on your entire burger menu for every burger that you sell by just adjusting one thing. By taking away the value of just the cheeseburger and guiding people to the others. Make sense? The other thing that you're looking for is, we're not in the food cost business. We're in the dollars to the bank business. Okay? So the other line item that I have here is every time I sell a cheeseburger, I make $6.03. Every time I sell a patty melt, I only make $6. But when I sell these other burgers, I make $7.21, $7.29, etc. Those are the ones that I want to sell because I make more dollars to the bank, even though the food costs on some of them are a little bit higher. Here it's 28% almost for this one. It's 24% on my cheeseburger. You go, well, I'm running at 24.5. Yeah, but you could take another $1 to the bank if you ran a little bit higher food cost. Okay? That's how that, when people say we take dollars and food costs don't matter, that's what they're applying to and how that works. Another good solid dinner menu to look at. So the way that we do this analysis, we take the food cost, there's that recipe cost that we spend our time doing in assignment number 1, all the way down the line of every menu item that you offer. The food cost on those items. Sorry, let me rephrase that. That's the dollars of the food cost. That's how much it costs us to make the item. So that's the actual cost of the item. That's the food cost percentage of the item. Okay? That's what we write on the menus. And then this is the number sold. That's how many of the items that we sold. And then that's the net dollars. All the way down. Okay? So that's what you want to do. That's why you gathered the data there. To get that information. Because it's going to tell you a lot of things. Let's just look at the pastas. We sell 1,200 pastas. And of the 1,200 pastas, the good news is that people actually do go to the one, but that's really, frankly, luck. You didn't do anything to guide them to it. In fact, you kind of buried it. Because when you put something and you have 4 items listed, they're going to read the top one first, they're going to read the bottom one second, and then they're going to the middle. That's how people read. Okay? So maybe the shrimp and crabazella sounds the best, and that's why people were buying it. But it wasn't because they were doing anything special to it, is it? Because it looks exactly like the other 3 or 4 descriptions. So what makes us the most money? That one does. So what could we do to that item to make it even more spectacular? We can bold and highlight it. We can describe it so that it just melts in my mouth. It sounds so wonderful. What do we do with the other 3? I was going to write this on a menu once, like linguine with roast, the one that makes me the least. Linguine with roasted portobello mushroom. I wouldn't even order it. Like one of these times we got to put that in a description and see if anybody catches it. Right? Because it's an item that's actually probably pretty good tasting, but frankly, when you buy that, I lose $2. I'd much rather you get the other one. So, bold it, highlight it, box it, describe it. The text is larger. The other texts are smaller, less description. Focusing on those items. Is this powerful stuff? Does this matter? let's just take it from the standpoint of catering. How many of you are doing now large events, getting more into the event business, want to grow this piece of the business? You're being told by all the consultants and the industry people to build this part of your business because it's the most important, most profitable part. Yes? All being guided that way? So what you need to do with that part of it when you're creating the parties, because if you're going to have 30,000 guests at your facility, say over a year's time, okay, and you can guide people to, how many of you are doing weddings now? Right? We got people getting married out there too. Great. So weddings is a one-time event. I have a buddy of mine who sold wedding packages. He had a $45 package, had a $55 package, and he had a $65 package. How many $65 packages did he sell? Zero. His average was between the 45 and the 55, about 50% of each one, meaning that each average guest was $50 per wedding package. So he added a $100 package. Limos for everybody, red carpets for all. Great package. How many of those did he sell? He sold one. And he freaked out because he wasn't ready for it. So he had to go get all that stuff that he told people they were going to have. Because some dad said, we're just going for it. So he did sell one. But what happened to the rest of the packages? Yeah, all of a sudden 65 doesn't look so cheap anymore, does it? You see, you can play this game in a lot of ways, and what happened with him is that the average person, actually they sold 27% packages of $65 because I'm not buying you the cheap wedding, and we're not getting the expensive one, so they picked in the middle between that. Their average guest went from $50 to $58. They did 30,000 guests. That's $250,000 for putting a package on that sold one. That's how this works. $250,000 for adding a package that never sold. Because you've got to take the upgrade of what you have. Do you realize in Asia, when we were in Bangkok, and I went into a bowling center there, that they had, it was like immaculate. It was hardwood floors. They had signatures of the bowling ball from the Queen in Thailand. Because it was a high-end sport, total white collar thing that they were trying to really push out there. And I know we're trying to create a movement where we don't want to discourage the bowlers that we have, but we need more people to come in, and it probably needs to upscale to do that. You're in that mode. Is that a fair description? Okay? That we're trying to guide that? So Asia's just going to town, right? So this is some of the things that we can do in the food too to accomplish that so that we can get the broad spectrum of the whole people in the world, not just the certain collars that we're tied to. Back to this menu thing for a second. I know it's really easy to sit here and go, and it's too bad that one isn't further down. But there's one above this, you'll just have to trust me, that it's an item called the democracy steak, and it's 16, let me go back to this menu, it'll be easier to see it. There it is. The 16.28, the 8.55, and the $26 are the three items that I'm looking at, okay? That one makes me $16, that one makes me $8, and that one makes me $26. So, what do I need to do with these bourbon barbecue pork chops when it's making me $4 or $3 or $2 less than anything else? You just have to raise the price. Okay? It's as simple as that. And if you price out because of it, because a lot of people are buying it, there's 447 of them, and they might get mad that you raise the price $3, but too bad, because you don't want those people buying it because it's killing the rest of your menu. But the big thing about this, I'm going to toss out the steak because you can go, well, Mike, yeah, they should just buy the filet, but we're only selling 90 of them of our 5,000 rings. Okay? So, but guiding it to those things, again, the same thing is highlighting those things out. Don't just create a menu and list all the stuff because it looks really boring and they're just going to pick what they want. You want them to pick what you want. You're going to see that you're going to be more worried about price increases than they are, first of all. As the owner and supervisor, manager, you're going to be more concerned than the guest is. And sometimes, I'm not saying that's all, you've got the 5% that just know your prices and know that you raised the burger 25 cents or 50 cents or whatever it is. But part of this, let me go a little bit to pricing. In answering your question, when something is $19 and $16 in round numbers, that is a higher end perception menu that you're rounding to the dollar like that. In the levels that we are, we can add cents to it. Okay, just like when you buy gas, it's $3.44. Is it $3.44? No, it's $3.44 and 9/10. And it's been that way forever. Okay? So you're paying $3.45. When we do this with pricing, if that was $19 or $19.95, doesn't affect it. When you're selling food, you want to add the cents to it. And if you're selling something for $10.25, you can sell it for $10.95 and no one's going to really say anything. When you get to $11, they do. It's the thresholds. You know this with selling bottled water. Okay? How many of you would buy a bottle of water for $1? Put your hands up. I want participation on this one. Bottled water for $1. $1.50. Very few hands went down. $2. Okay? $3. Whoa. Just lost the whole room. Okay? So we just learned about pricing strategies there. We learned a lot about it. One, if you're selling bottled water for $1, you can sell it for $1.50 and no one will say anything. Number two, when you go to $2, we only lost 25% of the room. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that's worldwide. That's what we have in this room. But the idea is that when you sell a car, it's $13,995. And when you get a rebate, it's $1,000 off MSRP. So when you give money back, you do it in whole increments. When you're selling something, add the change. I like it a little bit of this is my $100 item. Right? So wow, that filet must be, and it better be a heck of a filet. But it guides you to going to, that's your threshold, and everything less than that looks cheap, and that's okay, is what I'm trying to do with this. So I like the strategy, that it's high like that. And it's something you can experiment with. When Outback produces a menu that they're going to take nationwide, they put 12 different types of menus across the nation in different ways to figure out which one is going to generate the best food cost for them. For 2 months, they do the analysis and then drop it in their 2,000 stores. Okay? So with our little strategy, we can try the filet at 38 and see what happens and see if it made an impact or not. But I think what you're going to see in this is it's not going to make too much of an impact. By keeping it 42 helps your other menu better. And there's two things that are happening. Food's going up and labor's going up. And in California, we were at $8 June 29th last year, and July 1st of this year, we will be at 10 for minimum wage. And I mean, that's a 25% payroll increase for anybody that had regular workers. How can we not raise prices on that when it comes to that end? But I love the strategy. Because people do tend to forget. And it's okay, though, that someone comes up and complains. And you say, thank you, I know we had to do that. And you've seen what happened. Have you seen the price of hamburger in the store? Right? I mean, it's crazy. Like $5.49 a pound for hamburgers. Now, I mean, it's out of sight of what's happening. That's because they got rid of all the slime. If you guys watch Jamie Oliver with that episode. You guys aware of that? Yeah, ground beef was 10% slime. The day that he announced that, Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, and every single one of them took it out that day. Out of the system. That day. You haven't heard about it since, have you? Because that was bad. Watch your chicken. Your chicken is the same way. You want to spec it. I learned this yesterday. You got to spec it as a dry. Don't let them inject it. 90% of the chicken on the market is injected with saline. Do you want to know why this country is getting big? And why other countries aren't? Why we're at 31% and we'll be at 50% obesity by the year 2025 if we don't do something about it? Most of it's from refined sugar that's being put into the product. What's the name of the show? Yeah. Fed Up. Watch it. Katie Couric did a great thing on that. We have some fiscal responsibility selling food. If you have this product called Whirl, get rid of it. Anyone know what that is? That's the yellow stuff you pour on your grill so that you can keep your stuff. Use real butter. I mean, there's a reason why in the 20s and 30s and 40s when our parents grew up, most of them aren't as big, used butter. We shifted to margarine and other things that has soybean in it and other things about this. So I'm learning about this stuff, but it's not all public knowledge. All we know is everybody's getting bigger here and they're only 3% big in Asia. So why is that? Because they eat rice and, whole grain rices and products that are the chicken that's cut that day. It's just so much healthier. So look for that. I know I want the cheap chicken, but get the one that's not injected. And the spec is dry. I want the dry chicken. So that they don't, and you know what? You might pay 30 more cents a pound for it. It's okay. Because saline doesn't taste real good. Trust me. If you like it, take your own saline and inject your own chicken. If you really want to do it. You'll save more money that way than letting them inject it for you. Good about this? Pretty clear how that works? Great. All right, so and when we did this, when we finished up the menus with our friends in Asia here, we were going through, and this is American Club, so it's American food served in Singapore. We were going through their cost analysis, again, finding those $4.99 versus $11 items and moving these around a little bit differently. And the things that they offered, just items that they offered. They went from that to these menus. These 4 items became their top 4 selling items. They lowered their food cost by 5% overnight by offering these things. So all this stuff works. It's worth the time to go through and do that. Don't get greedy. Your guests will know it. There's like that, remember we were doing the bottled water, we got to $3 and everybody's hand went down? Okay? So same idea. Don't get too greedy. You can push the envelope, but keep it within sight. Here's kid meals for $8.50. Okay? Now, this person that ran this facility told me, he says, I'm getting $6.50 a guest. They really like it. I watched the guests. They were putting the hamburger into the brown water, by the way. It's one of those places. Because a burger, fries, and a drink is $14.50 at this place. Okay? In this establishment. And he was all happy, but I looked at the guests. It was one and done. They would order it one time, and there was no way that they were coming back. So, can't price it out. And then, like I said, the combo meals for $14.25 at the movie theaters. We're pricing against the guy next door, but what if the guy next door is an idiot? So keep that in mind. I know your competition is out there. I love getting banquet stuff, right? I want to go back to that party thing for just a second. You're getting more pressure for that. You need to create a banquet menu, okay? What I want you to do with that banquet menu is make it very confusing, very hard to read, very long, tedious, boring. So many options, okay? And they're going to look it over and, this is great, because be a guest. If you've ordered a party and been to these things, they have these big brochures, you're reading through it, and then they say the greatest 4 words that I just love. What do you recommend? Perfect. You know what? I've got a sheet for that right here. Here's our most popular selling items. You're just going to love them. That you can get all the things that you want, and for this price, it's all locked together. Includes the DJ and the flowers and the tables and the chairs. It's all one set and it's there. That's what you should get. I also make $5 more than anything else you would have picked. I got 30,000 guests. That's 150,000 if you buy this from me. Thank you. Right? And you have your salesperson pushing that particular product. From the back of the house, it's stuff that he knows he can make and taste great and is very executable. That's just going to go out. Do you see what happens that if you start to push this particular menu, your team's going to get really good at making it? Because they're making it over and over and over. So it helps everybody in that range. And then getting to really know your league bowlers. So how do you, in the country club world, how many of you are members at a country club? Any of you? A couple of you? Okay. Don't have any time to do that with your centers. I get it. But when you're in country club world, you would think, there's 400 guests that go there. And our thing with country club world is we go in and we need to learn 3 names a day. That's a required policy of every server. And they got to learn something about that person, about somebody, by just asking questions, such as, hey, are you taking any vacations this summer? And they go, oh, we're going on this cruise, and it's going to be great, and we're so excited. It's great, good. You go grab your Excel spreadsheet, because that's a league bowler, and you go, Mr. Holtzman's doing a cruise in November, and you just write that down. Because when Mr. Holtzman moves from lane 6 to lane 12 next week, I can go out there and say, you guys are going on a cruise. That's so great. You guys are lucky. When are you going? Or a month later, I get back from my cruise, and they go, how was it, Mr. Holtzman? How was your cruise? My goodness, how did you know that about me? That's just awesome. Because I'm just paying attention. You know what? What could even be a better service level than that? How about sending flowers to the ship courtesy of your center? Have a nice trip. How many of you have had that happen? Exactly. None of you have ever experienced something like that. So for $50, you could have a lifetime person at your facility going, can you believe that that person did that for me? That's what customer service is. That's taking it to a level that we struggle even to get their names a lot of the time if you're doing just your restaurant side, right? One of the things I always recommend with that, take every reservation name down. So you're making a reservation or they're coming in, get all the names. Because that way when your server comes to the table, he can call everybody by name. Instead of at the end when you get the credit card where you go, thank you, Mr. Holtzman, for coming today. because that's all you get. Leagues, you got all the names. Write down what they drink. Follow that. Teach it so that the newest person who's never worked there knows it. Not, I've got Josie and she's been here forever and she knows all the people's drinks. Great, let's take Josie's head and put it on our staff. Okay, because when Josie's not working, that service isn't there. We want everybody at the same level. Just a quick document. Pull the Excel spreadsheet when they're coming down. Have the bar bear their drink right there when they're starting, when they come in the door. That's the level of service that we can do. And then learning from the menu mix and the P&L. So looking at this menu, well, first word that comes to mind. Boring's good. I love that word. Perfect. Cheap, right? Just went right down the line. You went, cheap. I don't even know what I would get for $5.50 if down there at Chicken Nuggets and Rings. So beverages right there were being sold for 75 cents, $1, $1.25. People are not selling sodas for $1.50 anymore. Go to McDonald's. Go see what, I know McDonald's has their special $1 any size. Do they post that anywhere, by the way? They do have the poster outside. Do they have it posted inside? No, they do not have it posted inside. In fact, what the truth of the matter is, any fast food restaurant will have signs outside and none of them are inside. And only 19% of the people remember when they get in the door with the sign set outside. Just to let you know, that's how that marketing works. So yeah, they do $1 soda, but they don't promote it that much. They just kind of give it to you when you order the large. But if you order the medium, it's going to be $1.75. And the large will be $1. So when we do analysis of this, again, here's the thing about this facility. 50,000 cash rings. There were 50,000 times that this cash register had the button pushed. Okay? Every time the button pushes, when you get to take in money. But the problem is, with that, is that we only generated $54,000 in sales from the 50,000 rings. Okay? The other thing is that food cost was 26,000 of the 54,000. So even though on paper they look at it and go, well, we're making 10 grand, what's wrong here, Mike? Well, because they're only doing food and labor, there's a lot of other costs in a restaurant, huh? Utilities, maintenance and repair, laundry, linen, let's just go through the list. It's usually about a page long. So let's look at really what this data looks like. When we do this analysis, total 1,000 transactions, 52,000, total sales, 54, average transaction, $1.08. That's why I want you to go back and do that yourself and see where you stand. If you have 4 people working, you need 39 transactions an hour just to cover payroll. So you can start to see it gets kind of hard, and I know you have those afternoon times from 2 to 5 where not a lot of people are coming in, and how can we make the operation more streamlined and take care of that? But part of it is we got to make sure we get enough per ring. If we average $3 per transaction, then we only need 13 an hour to cover the 4 people in payroll. So it becomes a payroll issue as well when you're working through that, doing the transaction counts. And then total sales were 54,000, cost of goods was 28, that's 53%. We add payroll to that, you guys are going to work really hard and not make any money. So we got to eliminate that too. That's why we go back to setting ourselves up to be successful from the beginning and running it that way. And then the other thing on this is they actually had the idea of putting a 10-cent item on the menu. And the funny thing is, I was meeting with the team that was doing this, and you know, doing this long enough, you look at this and you go, that's a really interesting menu they have there. And he had his daughter with him that day, and he goes, and she goes, this is my daughter, and she works in the concession stand. She's about 12. And I go, hi, how are you doing, Josie? She says, great. I go, what was the hardest part about your job? And she goes, oh, the gummy worms. I go, what do you mean? She says, I had to take a tong and do them one at a time for each of the people because they come in and they want like 5 of them and they'd want to tell me what colors they wanted. And so I'd have to pick them out with my little tongs out of the tub of the gummy worms. I went, wow, that must have taken a long time. She says, yeah, we sold 17,000 of them of the 50,000 transactions. Right? There was a little bit of candy mixed in there with that, but that was the majority of what the sales were. 15,000 of them were the gummy worms. So you said they were. Imagine if they just took the 15,000 transactions and moved it to something else. What would their sales be? Their sales would be like 100 grand. Because a kid that comes, does a child walk up with a dime? If a child walks up with a $5 bill, and depending on some areas, some walk up with a 20, and they want to spend it all. So let's give them the opportunity, because they can't buy 200 gummy worms. They just won't do it. Won't be enough. So here's what I call the $1 million idea. And it's a different philosophy than maybe you've thought about before, but it's really about, it's very difficult in food and beverage to have a freestanding entity that's not integrated, and I mean fully integrated with the operations. Integration to me is that anytime someone buys something, then they get something back in your food operation. It's not $1 off, it's a coupon, tokens, or dollars to spend. People don't like coupons. They like tokens. They want to know it has value. So you don't want to say, hey, here's $1 off our restaurant, but it's here's $1 towards our restaurant. Anything that you want to get in there. Beer, everything that they can do. So we can do this with a lot of different items. We can do it with integrating the food and beverage with school events. So when schools come in, they also get a voucher with that. How do you sell that? You can come in and bowl for, let's say, $5 a game or $6 a game, or you can have food with that, $2 a voucher for $7. Now your goal was to sell the item here for $6, and maybe you're giving up $1 to your food and beverage to make this valuable, right? Create value with it, that you don't want to sell 2 and they get a $2 voucher for 8. There's no value. So create it. Maybe they get you sell it for 8, or you can get a $5 voucher if you sell it if you come in for 10. All you are absorbing there in cost is the cost of the food, because your labor is there anyway. You haven't changed your labor costs. You have the same number of staff. So integrating it with school events, integrating it with birthday parties, integrating it with bulk token purchases. When they get $5 in tokens, they get another $1 towards the food operation. They can use 10 of them at once if they want to. You don't limit them because they've taken the time to collect them, and if they end up with a free hamburger, that's okay. They bought a lot of stuff to be able to get that. It should be with shoe rentals. How many of you are doing it with all these things? How about shoe rentals? Are we integrating food with that? Cool. So a new idea that no one else has thought of that I came up with. Right? Now you might go, well, I've tried it, it's a really stupid idea. But I can tell you that integration starts to go where people go, I've got like $2 in vouchers, and I want to get, let me get now a burger because I get $2 off of that, and a drink because they weren't even thinking about it. Remember that if you take a standard 100 people in an entertainment venue, okay, and you can go do statistical data on this, but it kind of varies, but I'll give you kind of the stats. The first 20% will spend and generate 60% of your food and beverage revenue. The next 60% will generate only 30% of your revenue, a bottle of water on occasion. And the last 20% won't buy anything because they're those type of people. When you integrate, you change that model because the people who are going to get the 20% are buying it anyway. The 60% people who are looking for the bargains see the bargains and now will start buying food. The 20% that wouldn't buy anything don't throw away money, they're buying something. So the integration in this, as you start to look at this, giving tokens back and integrating with the food into the bowling fees as well, starts to make it that everybody is going to be buying stuff. So give me a count real quick of how many people come into their facility. How many have more than 250,000 people coming into your facility? More than 250,000, right? I mean, it should be, most of us should be well over that number if we really do the math on it. And if you haven't done it, it's something you should know. Because we need to know what, if I have 250 people in my center in the day, or 500 people in my center, what did I generate in food and beverage per guest coming in? It's a good number to understand and see so that we know we're getting better with the things that we're doing. But that's one of the biggest things with that is when we integrate, we've done this with a number of opportunities, golf, skiing, just all the water parks. When we integrate, that's where we've seen the biggest success. So here's the thing. We can sit and do what we've always done, and I use this slogan a lot. If you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. As I've warned you, food costs and labor costs are going up. We can't just simply go, food's going up, labor's going up, menu prices go up. We need to be more strategic. We need to look at this thing as at a whole different entity. We need to look at it so that we can make this thing more $1 a person, $8 more a party, or something like that. But this is really the slogan that I've lived with and looking to change. So we've done 410 facilities. We've done designs for over 200 kitchens. My thing about what I do is that I do it because I love to help people. I told Andy that he's looking at his new facility. I said to send his plan to me, his kitchen plan, so I can review it. I don't want to charge him for that. And I won't charge him for that. But I'm going to tell him what his kitchen plan is. And if it's good, I'll tell him. And if it's not good, I'll tell him. That's the type of consulting group that we are. Lastly, is we guarantee our fees. I've stood behind every fee that we've done, and I will send any check back of anyone that doesn't agree that what we charge, that they see the value in it. And this is how many checks that I've had to send back of the 410 projects. We're at booth number, what number, Scotty? 439. I appreciate your time. I hope you learned something today. Thanks for coming. And the answer to the Disney question. So did everybody answer that on the back? You can't go back and change this if I give you the answer right now. Is that fair? If you get the 2 days right, bring up your card. But the 2 days are... Oh yeah, does everybody know what the question was? Okay, the question was, what are the 2 slowest days at Disneyland? And no phone cheating. Okay, so the answer was Super Bowl Sunday. She got one. And the day after Labor Day. Because everybody's in school, right? They go to Labor Day, and the next day after, every single student, college, everyone is in school. Those are the 2 slowest. Did anybody get the Labor Day one? That's the hardest one. But missed the Super Bowl one. Okay. Hey, guys, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate your time.